So that's Marley.
Yeah, it's Marley. He's our lion's mane mushroom.
Yeah.
He's growing. Wow, this looks so good.
What you got? Did you get some in the mail?
Crystals.
Crystals.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Lots
Let me
of
get
them.
Let me get over there. Let me see
Yeah.
these.
Well, first
see
of
what you
all,
got.
these are from Crucial Crystals. This is Nathan from Ayaterra. So it says, Dear Sydney, thank you so much for the love and support. In this package I've included chrysocolla, tourmaline, fluorite, blue apatite, rose quartz, ruby and fuchsite, petrified wood, orange calcite, and kyanite. Enjoy. 100% made with love, Nathan. And it has all the different like healing properties too. So I can like write up little cards and have them designed or whatever to go with the thing. This is so neat. Okay.
It's got some rocks there.
Yeah. So this one is the chrysocolla, which is communication, self-expression, and forgiveness.
Okay.
This one is tourmaline, grounding, protection, alignment. This one is fluorite, cleansing, de-stressing, positivity. This blue one is blue apatite, whatever, personal growth, manifestation, and achievement. And then we've got rose quartz, which is expression, self-love, and openness. The next one is ruby and fuchsite, awareness, cleansing, and transformation. Next one is petrified wood, calmness, reassurance, and transformation. Orange calcite, energy clearing, understanding, and patience. And the last one is kyanite, creativity, creation, and communication.
Neato.
Neato indeed.
All right, so
well done, Nathan. Excellent mix.
So those go in the big donor boxes.
Yeah, these are going in the donor boxes for the virtual campfire.
Neat.
Yeah.
All right then.
Stunning.
Yeah. What you got going on over there?
Just waiting to get in.
Into what?
The Zoom meeting for Kelly Alexis podcast.
Oh, you doing a podcast this morning?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
What's it about?
The book and well, she commented on my LinkedIn post about Aaron being on the board of directors, so we'll see where it goes. I'm not real sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not hiking my feelings.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anyway, Peter was at South by, and he asked if I wanted to go skydiving because he's a licensed skydiver, and I was standing in line in the convention center. Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go jump out of some planes. Do you and your friends want to come?" And I was like, I had previously done one skydive, so I already knew everything about it, right? Like I was the newbie who was a professional. And I was like, oh, duh, yes, I'm so in. So I went skydiving with Peter in Austin, Texas. This was in 2010. And I landed and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. Like, it was the same feeling I had after my first jump, but when I did my first jump, I was still in college. My parents were like, that's cute. You're not gonna go quit life to be a skydiver. You need to get your degree. So I got my degree, moved to Chicago, spoke at South by, went skydiving, went back to Chicago, and I was like, I want to learn how to do this, like ASAP. So I was looking for a place where I could go jump around Chicago, and there's 3 or 4 different drop zones in the area in Chicagoland. And the first one I called, they were booked. They didn't have any room for an appointment the day that I wanted to go. The next one I went to, they were open, and I was like, okay, sweet. And so I realized when I got to that skydiving center that I had jumped out of their plane in Texas, like, because in the winter they had leased it to the place where I jumped out of the plane with Peter, and I was like, okay, universe, dropping signs, what's going on? So I did another tandem skydive. I loved it. And then I said, I want to go learn how to do this like how Peter does it, because the way he was doing it was like he would take an extra day off on the front end or the back end of a business trip and go jump out of planes. And I was like, I'm traveling a lot for work. This is a great way to see the country, a great way to jump in more places. So I went to go get my skydiving license, and the agency that I was working with had a program internally called No Boundaries, where you could write an essay, say you talk about this skill you want to learn or this class you want to take or some kind of like continuing development for professionals. And if you get the award, then you get like $2,500 and a whole extra week of time off to go pursue this thing. And I got it. So I had applied and said, you know, I want to go jump out of airplanes. One of my account leads on one of the brands that I was working on had just been diagnosed with cancer. There's this big, humongous organization that was doing skydiving for breast cancer research, like to raise money for it. And I was like, I want to go learn how to skydive and then go be on one of these jumps and do it in my team lead's honor. And they were like, done. Here's a check. Go take a week off. You can go do it. So I roll out to this drop zone in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, Cowtown, cornfields everywhere. And I walk up to the hangar and I met the man who was going to be my future husband. And then I learned how to skydive, blah, blah, blah. That brought us out to Southern California. Yeah. So, like, I drove home that night after meeting this dude, and I was like, something feels different, man. Like, I don't know what's going on, but something feels different. And the something that was different, like, I thought it was because I was going to go jump out of a plane by myself the next day. But turns out I had just met the man of my, like, who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. Like, that was the shift. So, yeah, and first of all, I'm so sorry that that happened to you, and I see you, and I believe you, and that is the most violent thing that can happen to the human body short of being murdered, especially while we're alive. So just know that there are lots of women that are out there, like you said. I mean, every 73 seconds in this country, somebody is sexually assaulted. 1 in 3 women. And 1 in 3 women will experience sexual violence before the end of their lifetime, and 1 in 6 men will as well. And to your point about date rape and stuff like that, 8 out of 10 people that are sexually assaulted are assaulted by people that they know. So for me, why I didn't tell anybody, and the reason I carried my secret for as long as I did, was because it happened with a guy from work. I had been drinking the night before. I woke up, it was happening. And I figured if it wasn't a stranger with a gun to my head in an alley somewhere, then it wasn't rape. So I didn't tell anybody because I thought it wasn't that bad. Like, I knew the guy, and surely I didn't want it. It was definitely assault. I woke up and he was on top of it inside me. So, like, I didn't ask for that. I certainly did not consent. But I thought that it wasn't rape because it wasn't this picture of violence that we see in the movies and in TV and everything else. And I grew up with high profile cases around sexual assault in the media and everything else. And, like, I wasn't assaulted by a celebrity or something. Like, it was a guy from work, but I saw what happens to survivors who chose to speak up, and I didn't feel like I wanted to re-traumatize myself, so I didn't. First of all, I didn't believe that that what happened was assault, and then I didn't. If I thought it was, when I did know, because I knew it was. I knew I didn't want what happened, and my behavior for the decade that followed certainly reflected that. But I just didn't know, and I didn't want to. I figured that girls like me don't get raped. Like, I'm educated, I'm smart, I protect myself. Like, I take the measures necessary. Like, I don't dress slutty. Like, I've heard all the excuses for why women get assaulted. I was actively combating those things. So yeah, I mean, we run into people all the time, and that's one of the things. I don't know what comes first. I don't know if there's a connection to nature that makes you start to see the patterns of nature within yourself, or if it's you find there's something that you want to work through and you're drawn to nature. Like, I don't know what comes first, but in the community that we've created and the space that we're curating, there's no judgment here. I lead with the story of my assault. I lead with how it manifested in my mind and body as type 2 diabetes. So by just sharing about what I've been through, I feel like it's giving people permission to explore the things for themselves, and also giving them language to better understand what happened to them. Because if the statistics are true, and those statistics that I mentioned earlier from RAINN, which is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization, they run a wonderful sexual assault hotline for anybody who's been through something that needs somebody to talk to. They're a tremendous resource. But if those statistics are true, then we all have a lot more in common than we do different. If 1 in 3 women in this country is a survivor of sexual assault, or will be by the time they die, why are we competing? Why are we catty? Why are we getting all caught up in material stuff that does not matter, when at its core 1 in 3 of our sisters has survived the most violent thing that can happen to the human body? Like, I don't understand the female competition thing. I don't understand trying to one up each other. I don't understand the things that are playing out in culture that I don't participate in. Like, that stuff is very, like, it's toxic, and it just compounds the issues because we don't feel safe to talk about it, and we keep it to ourselves, and then we lash out at each other regardless of gender. Like, it's not just a female on female thing. Like, we all project our trauma onto everybody else until we start to deal with it. But I mean, I just think about how much work I've done and the things that I've discovered about myself, and then compound that by however many other people have been through this. Like, no wonder we're seeing the kinds of things we're seeing in the world. Suicide rates through the roof, mental health issues through the roof. Like, it's it's so obvious as to why it's happening, but like, what else can we do but talk about it? That's why I do it, because like ultimately, if other survivors hadn't shared their stories, I wouldn't have had the language to identify what happened to me. So when people ask me like, how do you find the courage to talk about what happened to you so openly? I was like, I can't not do it, because if I didn't, if the people who stood up and told their stories didn't do it, I might not be on this planet today. And I take that as a responsibility, to be honest with you. Like, if me sharing my story keeps one more person from taking their own life because they can't live with the trauma that they survived, then my job here is well worth my time, and well worth the commitment, and well worth the sacrifice. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Sydney, and I'm currently in the mountains outside of San Diego, California. We're about an hour east of the city. And I am the author and founder of an organization called Hiking My Feelings, and we are on a mission to improve community health by introducing people to the healing power of nature. So we are just quarantined up, getting ready to build our retreat center, so once we can start gathering safely, we can have people out here, and we can take people living with diabetes or working on preventing diabetes out for hikes. So I went from like being on the couch all the time to walking 30 to 45 minutes every day, and as that got to be easier for my body and as I got adapted to it, then I started hiking, and I just graduated to local trails. So I think for anybody that's out there that's like worried about, you know, comparing themselves to other people, like if you've got a friend that runs a marathon and like your recreational activity is like picking up the remote, it's really easy to compare yourself, because you want to get to that point at some point, and that's why you feel those feelings. So I think the biggest thing we can do, especially right now, is just like borderline drown ourselves with compassion, because right now it's so hard to get out and do anything and feel like it's okay. So especially as diabetics, like we're all thinking about what it means to be living with diabetes, what that means as far as like COVID goes. So there's a lot of extra stress. So I think at the very minimum, like taking 30 minutes to yourself every morning is a great way to clear your head. It's a great way to get away from the news that's just like telling us about how the world's melting down all the time. And I think that that's just a great place to start. It's just right around your neighborhood. And then you get to see like cute dogs in the morning. Like, it's not a bad way to start the day. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Cool.
How'd that go?
That's fun.
Yeah, you did good.
Yeah, I like that.
Shocker.
Huh.
Yeah.
I just make sure I'm not. It says it's done. So.
Nice. So what was that?
That was Be a Friend Friday for the American Diabetes Association from their national page.
Excellent.
Yeah, so like organization wide. So hopefully there were some big cats watching. We had like 20 people watching, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that'll be up on their Instagram for like 24 hours.
Right on, right on, right on.
Yeah, man.
Neato.
Making it happen.
Yes, you are. Next time on Williams in the Wild.